Let us dream for a moment, okay? Just let us dream. The fact that another Batman game is on the horizon is something of delight to the Batman slash DC Games fans. The community has waited for a while now, and most of you have probably 100% completed your favorite Arkham games, probably 10 times. But before I go on, I know you all have heard about the teases, the pictures, the videos, the employee, the artist, the Twitter, the journal, and all these agents involved in dropping the trickles of information about this so-called new Arkham game by Warner Brothers Montreal. Seeing that we've received all these clues, we can speculate with much confidence that Warner Brothers Montreal will center their Batman game around a Gotham legend called the Court of Owls. Now, the confidence that we have is just on a t-shirt and a few teases, but that's what we're going to go with. So today, I don't intend on explaining who the Court of Owls are, but I want to discuss how this villain or enemy of the Batman could be implemented in the new Warner Brothers Montreal game. Now, I'm going to do some speculation and draw some conjecture, but I'm not going to do that in a vacuum because I'm going to try to see if we can dissect the formula that Warner Brothers Montreal used when they were developing the plot and the story arc and the gameplay implementation for Arkham Origins. So let's jump right in. First of all, before we start going into all of this, I'd like to draw your attention to Arkham Origins, the game. The plot of the game was set in a time where Batman first encounters most of the villains that he's faced with. So throughout the game, Batman is in a perpetual state of discovery. New secrets, surprises, a lot of things that hit you from left and right are being unveiled as you're going through the story of the game. In fact, the game forces Batman to use his most urgent detective skills in order to be able to solve the mysteries and to be able to progress through the game. And in the story of the Arkham Origins, Batman will for the first time discover his arch nemesis, the Joker. Now, even though this story pulls Batman into the crosshairs of multiple assassins, these were all known threats to him, but the one thing that really stood out in the entire story was that Batman did not expect the villain, like the Joker, to be behind all of this. In fact, the Dark Knight did not see it coming. He didn't see a maniacal bad guy with nothing to lose, and this kind of adversary is a very different kind of enemy. So it wasn't just an ordinary bad guy boss fight. It was something where Batman was going to be hit with the discovery and a realization that he's not really up to speed on everything and something was going to take him by surprise. So a wonderful plot twist in this game. Even some of us, the gamers, were quite surprised that there was a villain behind the villain in the story of Arkham Origins. Now, another dimension to the Arkham Origins story is that it didn't limit Batman's discovery to only villains, but it broadened his discovery to two unique individuals who had a passion to fight crime. The father-daughter duo who, play a role for solid character development over the course of the Arkham games, and that's Jim Gordon and Barbara Gordon. So in many ways, Arkham Origins, in my opinion, was more than just the origin stories of superheroes and villains, but a story of discovery for the Dark Knight. So the plot was very magnificent, it was quite deep, and it was filled with canonical clues with the Arkham games. So the game is in the whole Arkham universe, and it actually stays true to the canon of the Arkham games and also picks out very solid, I would say, foundations from the entire canon of the Arkham setting and the writings and all of that. And even though many may disagree, whatever it is, I believe that Warner Brothers Montreal developed Arkham Origins with a go big or go home mentality because they were developing a game in the shadow of Rocksteady. I mean, this was a studio who'd already delivered Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. So what does this have to do with the Court of the Owls? I'm glad you asked. So before I answer though, let me draw a big old conjecture from the nature of the plot of Arkham Origins. So the plot of the Court of Owls as an enemy of Batman is fundamentally a story of discovery. The first thing about this crime group is that Batman has not necessarily encountered them. Yes, he's seen clues according to the comics written by Scott Snyder. You see in these comic books that Batman has actually seen some clues about them, but has always come up empty when he searches for them. So, and even worse still, the Court of Owls have existed in Gotham under Batman's nose, and they've always been there. In fact, the remarkable aspect of this crime group is that they are introduced by the writers to have been in the picture even before Bruce Wayne was born. So according to the lore, this secret society had shaped the foundations of Gotham, and Batman will be set not just on an ordinary quest, but on a quest of discovery. Now, this may be, I think, the major reason Warner Brothers is going with this tale. And as a side note, I'm genuinely surprised that some comments on the vast edges of the internet have expressed concerns over the fact that the Court of Owls is not a well-known crime group in the Batman universe, and that they may not be interesting as a villain. To that, I say nonsense. On the contrary, I think a villain like this is actually perfect. a perfect villain for the Batman franchise, especially the new Batman franchise that we're probably going to be looking into, because these villains were actually introduced in the New 52 comic series and the New 52 comic lines. So I genuinely believe that Warner Brothers Montreal knows exactly how important the nature of the Court of Owls is to their story and their style of game development. Now, they don't have a lot of game development history that I know of. I went to their website and I only saw 3 games on there. And so I'm going to go from what I already know and what I've played multiple times, and that's Arkham Origins. So the Batman comics, an animated series that show this crime group anchor on the plot that and the premise that Batman is facing a largely unknown enemy and is going to be pushed to his limits to survive or be killed. This is exactly how I think the Warner Brothers Montreal Batman game is going to set its tone. Just like the Arkham Origins story, Batman is going to be tested and is certainly going to become a target of an largely unknown enemy. Now, how is this going to be implemented in gameplay? And that's the biggest part that I wanted to kind of highlight in this video, because I've been playing the games and I've been looking at the comics. And if you want to kind of get a quick synopsis of the comics, there's a channel that has done a video that explains the whole story of the Court of Owls as much as they can, but they missed out a whole lot of things. And I say that not in the sense that they missed out a lot of things because they missed it out for lack of knowledge, but to condense the whole story into one video is a very, very big task. And I think they did a great job. So the things that they left out were for the sake of, being able to summarize and give a good synopsis. But those things, I found that those things are actually probably going to be very critical for looking at the way the gameplay may or may not go. How they're going to adapt it into a gameplay, I don't have a definite answer for you, because I said we're dreaming right now. We just need to draw some conjecture and we just have to go with that. But we do have, other Batman games that can give us a clue as to what we're going to see. So the Court of Owls is a suitable enemy for existing gameplay mechanics and assets that Warner Brothers Montreal or the entire, Warner Brothers studio development franchise already has. So if you remember, this is not the first time that Batman has dealt with the Secret Society in any of the Arkham games. In fact, Bruce Wayne is a former member of the League of Assassins, and his exit, caused a great deal of conflict. And this is depicted in Arkham City, it's depicted in Arkham Knight. And in essence, we can expect to see combat featuring a more unique or challenging enemy type that's fashioned after the style of the ninja enemies in the Arkham games. So in Arkham City, there are ninjas from the League of Assassins. They're assassins, I call them ninjas. In Arkham Origins, you also have these different enemy types that use swords as well, that look like enemies from the League of Assassins. But then you also have the Initiation Batman DLCs, where Batman is actually fighting these group of enemies that actually fight slightly differently. And then in Arkham Knight, you also have some of the League of Assassins ninjas who also fight slightly differently as well than the other ninjas from Arkham City and Arkham Origins. And then you have some other so-called enemy types that use swords that wear masks. In fact, the villains are actually very, very, very diverse, I think. So here's what I think. I think probably we'll see some combat variation. And I think that the Court of Owls, is a selected major villain. And we're about to see some serious melee combat. Because the Court of Owls uses Talons, which are its assassins, as its kind of its enforcers. People who go out there to take down their enemies or people who they're against. So expect a lot of surprises, I think, because if you're going to be fighting assassins who use all kinds of tricks and different tactics, I think Batman's going to be pushed to use every single weapon in his arsenal. Now, if you look at Arkham Origins, where there are a wide version of enemy types, or Arkham Knight, you can see that this enemy looks so much like, you know what? Maybe I'm just reading too much into things. Let's not even go there. But the plot of the Court of Owls tells us that the crime group kidnaps child performers from circuses, trains them to be assassins. So we're gonna be seeing something along the lines of that. And also, there's an area where my imagination runs dry. But if you're reading the comics and you're a Batman video game fan, you're going to see all kinds of fun stuff actually coming together, where you actually see that this is actually a viable storyline for a new Arkham game. So what other villains are going to be in this existing Batman franchise, if in fact the Court of Owls is going to be the featured highlight of this Batman game? And to be honest, I don't know. You probably expect to see Penguin. If you keep reading down the series, you're going to see some other villains in there. You're going to see Mr. Freeze, you're going to see Penguin. So expect to probably see those people. And we all know that Warner Brothers likes Mr. Freeze. He has shown up in almost every game, and maybe we'll see Killer Croc. We don't know who we're going to see. Pretty much it's all up to when we get our hands on the game to play. Now, finally, I wish to address another side of the story that I wish will come, or I'm hoping that will come into this whole gameplay. And I hope that they will be able to follow, even though they're going to be adapting I hope that they follow as closely as possible the whole New 52 lore, specifically in the aspect in which the Bat family is involved in the entire story. So there's an aspect of the story where Batman gets trapped in a labyrinth and members of the Bat family are out seeking him. So this alone creates a wide slew and a huge potential for gameplay mechanics where you see characters like Batgirl, Catwoman, Nightwing, Robin, and even Alfred playing active roles to be able to find Bruce Wayne. So this will also probably maybe increase the layer of plots and subplots in the game. I mean, you could just imagine a small investigative mission where you're walking around town as Alfred and you're asking questions to characters, you're walking in the street corners and the side of the road, and perhaps maybe some enemies come at you and they think because you're an old man they can do whatever they want, and Alfred takes his high-tech umbrella and whoops them all to the ground. You know, that's a very, very wonderful imaginative side that I think may come in. Another side of the story is that Batman actually gets attacked in Wayne Manor. And we all know that Wayne Manor is one huge addition to the games. Eventually, they usually put it as, challenge missions. And it'll be interesting to see you actually play as Batman being attacked in Wayne Manor. It's not the first time he's been attacked. Warner Brothers Montreal has actually done their Cold Heart DLC where Mr. Freeze attacks Wayne Manor with thugs. And, he actually takes one of these guys hostage or whatever. And Batman actually has to make his way, he and Alfred actually make their way into the Batcave. And Batman gets his bat suit and comes out and takes all the bad guys down. So Warner Brothers Montreal has actually reached into the depths of what Batman is. They spread their tentacles of development into this character so well, and I see Court of Owls just being the natural progression for them with the existing gameplay mechanics that they have. In the story as well, when the Talons attack, he and Alfred, they make their way into the armory. And Alfred discovers a weakness in the Court of Owls, and this is the most interesting part that actually caught my attention. And as he's in there, Alfred discovers that they actually are sensitive to, heat. These Court of Owls characters, because they're undead. They're dead and they're being revived with some kind of chemical that keeps their body temperatures cold. And Batman says he makes a comment, he says, I may have something warm in here. And he breaks out with this bat suit that you have not necessarily seen in any other Arkham game. You've probably seen it if you've been watching the animated series. And it's one of his ME suits, one of his extreme environment suits, which actually puts out a lot of heat. Well, guess who has actually designed and implemented an ME suit in a Batman video game? Warner Brothers Montreal. In the Cold Heart DLC, where you play against Mr. Freeze, Batman actually has to go and get this suit because it's able to withstand all the cold and, use it to fight and take down Mr. Freeze. So I was looking at all of this stuff and I was thinking to myself, this is driving me nuts. I'm just going crazy because I'm seeing, a lot of, I would say, parallels that you can actually put together if in fact they're gonna go this route. And so I decided to just go ahead and make this video and put it out here. I wanted to go formal and everything, but it's just so much fun stuff. And then in that conversation, Alfred discovers a list of bad guys that the Court of Owls have actually, targeted. So the Court of Owls has targeted a bunch of bad guys, and immediately Batman tells Alfred to put out a call to the Bat family, who's Batgirl, Catwoman, Robin, Nightwing, I think Red Hood. I don't know who this, I think it's Red Hood. And they all are going out to go help to protect these people. I mean, gameplay is flying out of this story like crazy. You have to kind of bottle it up. And you can see amazing aspects of gameplay, story development. Hopefully we don't get short DLCs. Hopefully we get well meaty DLCs that we can play for more than just an hour a piece. And you can see all these stories going different directions and featuring some of our favorite characters that we didn't get to see in Arkham Origins. Arkham Origins only featured Batman and Deathstroke. We want to be able to see Robin. We want to see Nightwing. We want to see Catwoman. I would love to see Batgirl again. She doesn't get a lot of love in the gaming side. Rocksteady put her in, and then, you had Injustice 1, and then an old Batman game, Rise of the Sin Tzu, from PlayStation 2 days, and I haven't really seen her in many other iterations of video games. So this is pretty much what I wanted to put out. I know it's a lot of conjecture. I know it's a lot of stuff. And by the way, there was a picture that came out a few days ago with an artist, and everyone said it's probably going to be that, but the artist has disclaimed that. So if you're still thinking that picture is whatever, go and look at the artist page. He says he's not affiliated with Warner Brothers or Warner Brothers Montreal, but that was just fan art. So ladies and gentlemen, this is an ambitious task that Warner Brothers Montreal is taking on, and I think there needs to be some excitement because this studio does know how to pull off a good story-based action game. Arkham Origins was a good story, great story in my estimation, and I hope we're going to see the talents and skills that they actually put into that game come to life, if in fact they're making a Batman game with a Court of Owls as the main villain. So, thank you for watching this video.